Jake, you've done a lot of studying of Anthony Walker, new linebacker. What do you see? What do you like? What are some of the things that concern you?
Well, first of all, you like the fact that it was well regarded as a teammate as he was. I mean, it's rare for guys leaving an NFL franchise to have as many tributes as he had. Chris Ballard, the GM, talked about his quality not only on the field, but I mean more specifically off the field, the leadership he provided, the type of teammate he is. Before kind of saying that they didn't know if Anthony was going to be able to come back for them. And then you saw Darius Leonard, who's the Colts obviously staple of their defense, their all-pro will linebacker, leaving a tribute to becoming the type of player he is because of Anthony, so on and so forth. So you're left to conclude that this guy understands, A, how to work in a locker room structure, how to lead. You know, I always talk about you can't have enough guys who are thermostat leaders. You know, there are guys who are thermometer leaders that when the temperature's high, they can come up and be a leader. But there are only a certain number of guys who are those true thermostat leaders who raise everybody around them. And I think Anthony Walker gives off the vibe that he's that type of person. And I think that is the hardest form of leadership to find, and that's important. And it's a good role to be able to fill, especially for a Browns who have young linebackers around him. You know, Jacob Phillips in his second year, Taki and Mack Wilson in their third year. And I think it's nice. It's a nice mixture there with Malcolm Smith too. And they could ultimately add somebody in the draft. So it's a good leadership perspective. On the field, I see a guy who plays. He doesn't play that fat. I got to kind of be careful here. I think he's a good run defense middle linebacker. I think he can handle getting downhill. He deciphers blocking schemes well, which is a big part of linebacker plays, being able to decipher what scheme it is and not getting caught up in congestion. Does a good job with that. Does not get stuck on second level defenders all too often, and can play laterally, can run, chase down things, and play laterally really well too. So I like that. In terms of, I don't think he's a great change of direction and burst guy. So sometimes if he gets caught leaning the wrong way, it can ultimately hurt him. I think sometimes he takes poor angles, which have hurt him too. And those angles can catch up with him because he's not a great flatline speed guy. He's not anywhere near Jacob Phillips' athletic ability right now. It was ultimately going to be pushing him, I think, for snaps at Mike, or those two could play parallel together at the Mike and Will, but we'll see. But that's certainly athleticism, like blowing you away as an athlete, is not going to happen. Coverage, he's okay. Doesn't have a good a feel in zone coverage as Malcolm Smith does for the Browns, and certainly not able to run with elite athletes the way you would hope, but can play middle, can lurk, can play curl flat, can run deep middle seam and try to put pressure on putting the ball, you know, the quarterback trying to put the ball up the seams, but just kind of an okay player. I mean, the Browns had BJ Goodson last year, who BJ got the first crack of his career to play 3-down football and was better than many expected him to be. And I think in this defense, I think there's a chance for Anthony to do the same. Personally, I expect him to be a 2-down linebacker. He did not play a ton of third downs for the Colts defense last year. I think he'll be a 2-down linebacker. The Browns really forced BJ Goodson to be a 3-down backer because they didn't have anybody consistently playing that was their communicator. He's you hear the term the green dot player, the guy who communicates. Just like on offense, quarterback has a communication radio in his helmet to call plays, get information from the sideline. The same for the defense, and that's where John Johnson, who the Browns signed from the Rams, has experience doing that with the Rams last year. Their defensive coordinator, Brandon Staley, talks so highly about him. He's now the new Chargers head coach, about his ability to do that. So I think the Browns viewed it as, we can go get a player in Anthony Walker who we think is a really proficient 2-down linebacker, can really play the run game, can be a nice voice, can be a good leader in the locker room, can be a good influence on the linebackers around him, can play well the first 2 downs. We can pull him off the field on third downs, put Jacob Phillips on the field, put Malcolm Smith on the field, or a drafted player, whoever, bringing those guys along who are more adept in space, who are better coverage guys, and ultimately allow John Johnson to be the voice of your defense from the third level. They think he's going to be on the field all the time doing a bunch of different things, and he's going to be the communicator for them. So they said, hey, let's not invest a ton of money in this position, but we can also go out and get best of both worlds, which is a guy who can play early downs, be effective against maybe some of these running quarterbacks we see, the mobile types, but also will be a great person off the field and a great impactful leader who I could see the Browns not just keeping him for 1 year. I could see them being interested in keeping him multiple years. So overall, for the price, what he brings on the field and off, and the situation in which he arrives to where he's not forced to be on the field for 3 downs, it's a great setup.